Righto, gorgeous ones. Just after 5, Dr. Lucy here from Real Life Medicine. I had a little bit of trouble with my camera today, camera crew. Where are you? So I don't know. I'm hoping you can see I've got my old thing fell over. I've got a new thing. We'll just see how it goes. Tonight I am cooking curried tuna bake, sort of. Curry in a hurry. It's another super quick recipe. You know I love quick. So whilst I'm getting going, and then I've got a little word on nutritional science, which I thought would be really interesting to chat about whilst we've started the cooking process. Now, the first thing I realised I've forgotten is any oil. So I've got my little pan over here, or a big pan. Let me just go to my cupboard and see what oil I've got. I hope you didn't get to have a look in there because my cupboard's super messy. But anyway, I'm just cooking with a little bit of coconut oil to start with. I love coconut oil. This one just happens to be, I've got them all, but it's just that the one in the jar's over there. This is a liquid one. It has no flavour, which is why I quite like it. But I don't like to use it all the time. And look, it is pressed, so that's kind of good. But somewhere, in fact, maybe they've changed the packaging. Somewhere it talked about it being refined, and you know me, anything, I try and get the least refined product the best. So I've got the big pan today because, well, the other pan's in the fridge with last night's dinner, which was last night I made a red chicken curry with chicken. Of course I had chicken, it was red chicken curry. Chicken, broccoli and cashew nuts, divine. Hi Heather, how are you, gorgeous? So what I'm going to do is just, while this is heating up, hey Lillian, how are you? Just put in some onion, you know I just like doing a bit of that, I don't know. A quarter of a packet maybe, whatever, it depends on how many people you're cooking for. So I'll just let that do its little magic. Now basically this is such an easy dish. So I have no food in my house. This is one of those times where I was away for the girls' weekend, so fun, but it meant that I didn't have my normal prep. You know, I haven't done my shopping. Hey, Alani. So I've gone through rummaging. You know when you've got like the rummaging thing? So in my fridge, I always have tuna. So I've got a couple of tins of tuna, and I've rummaged around the bottom of the cupboard, and there was an old cabbage and a capsicum. So guess what? That's what's going in it. So people go, oh, you know, how do you think of your recipes? I don't. I look in the fridge and see what's there and make something to it. Oh, Maxine, how are you? Oh, you're up on the Murray, how fun. I hope the weather's better than here. It's absolutely freezing. And I'm going to tell you, I literally just took off my hoodie, and I was talking to my daughter about, should I cook in the hoodie? Hey, Suze. And the only reason I haven't is because I was worried I might get it a bit dirty. She thought that with my beads it looked very regal because it's it's got some sort of, you know, it's a blue plush velvet looking thing. Hello Winnie gorgeous, how are you? So what we're doing is, I'm just going to turn this down. So look, seriously, I'm chopping cabbage. It's, you know, it's not rocket science. The dinner, as you know, the dinners I cook are not, they're not gourmet, but believe me, hell, I'm going to tell you, they're tasty. And seriously, I think my husband thinks I am a real chef. Because every night he just says, oh my God, that's so good. What have you done this time? And you know, it's usually, last night was a packet of Mingle red curry, and tonight is actually going to be this one. So I think on these cooking shows, I've cooked one meal without some Mingle. And look, it's not that I'm, you know, well, I was about to say it's not that I'm, of course I'm a fan of it because it's delicious. And I love Jordan, who runs it, and I just love supporting an Australian woman. And I love the fact that she's out there trying to change things up. So yeah, you know, why wouldn't I support her? It's a brilliant thing to do. I'd much rather support her than a big conglomerate who are pretending to make healthy food, and they're not. So a couple of my pet hates, as you know, are people or companies that pretend their food is healthy. I hate that more than junk food, because at least junk food, we really know that it's junk. But when they say healthy, you know, good for you, blah, 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 and it's not, So basically, look, I've chopped up the cabbage and I've put it in the pot. There you go. Now, I'm going to do this incredible, skillful thing of opening up a tin of tuna. And, you know the best thing about this? I don't even have to drain it because I'm just putting the liquid in as well. And I'll have a look and see how many tins it needs. So basically look, the essential recipe, if you want a recipe, I've done a quarter or a half a small cabbage. I've done a quarter of a packet of chopped onions. I think I'll put 2 tins of tuna in, including the brine. Then if I put in the salty water, I don't have to add any salt. You know, I do like a bit of salt. So seriously, I reckon this is going to be the best, and this might even be like my record dish. Like, I thought last week's was pretty fast. I think I had, the week I did the tuna, was that last week when I did the cheese and avocado chicken? That was super fast. But this one, 2 tins of tuna, half a cabbage, a bit of onion, no egg, just scrap that out of your mind, don't know why I said egg. Now, one of the things that, you know, we're big fans on is focusing on your protein, because people need protein. As a society, we're largely protein deficient, especially as people get older. As people get older, protein preparation becomes a little harder, and it's much easier for them to just get out some toast or some Ryvitas. I reckon Ryvitas, God, they've obviously done a good job marketing, because they seem to be the standard diet of every person who's around 80, seems to eat Ryvitas. So, as you know, I don't like Ryvitas. Now this tuna, I just got some John West certified sustainable. But if I go, it's got protein, 17 grams per serving. It's got 26 grams per 100 grams. And this thing is 425 grams. So I reckon it's probably got 25 grams of water. So I'm going with 400 grams, which means this tin of tuna has 100 grams of protein. So this whole thing so far has 200 grams of protein in it, which is what we want. It's bloody awesome. So I'm just sticking the lid back on while that cooks. Really, it just needs to braise the cabbage and heat the tuna, since the tuna's already cooked. While that's going, I'm just going to chop up this mildly, it's not manky, it's just, you know, it needs to be eaten today. I love eating food that needs to be eaten today, because it makes have this slight sense of satisfaction that I've managed to time it just perfectly. And really, you could use a green one. I'm just happen to use a red one because I love red capsicum. That's all I buy. So, diet wars. It's tricky. So, as you know, at Real Life Medicine, we totally believe in low carb, because the majority of people we see are insulin resistant. So the majority of Australians who are either overweight or obese are insulin resistant. Now, remember, obesity is just a calculation. It's a word that's been tarnished, and it's a word that, you know, it's just a word that's been used very pejoratively. Try saying that fast. And often as an insult, and often as, a slur on people, but really it's just a medical term. It's not a term I use a lot of. And I certainly would never say to someone, well, you're obese, because that's part of their identity then. And as you know, we're always talking about your identity. So anyway, there are times, from time to time, there are people that write things like, I saw this study and it said this. And the study might say no women should do carbohydrate restriction, or everyone who does carbohydrate restriction is harmed. Do you remember when you were at school and you had to do multi-choice? And one of the techniques for multi-choice was if there was ever kind of like a complete sweeping statement, every or none or never, you automatically discounted that, because it's never true. There is never anything. Can you hear his child screaming? I think it's screaming at a dog. So if you hear some bellowing, it's maybe a little dog that's being a bit naughty. So if there's ever a study that says all people who do low carb are going to be worse off, you pretty much discount it. what we love to say, and we don't say that every single person should do low carb. Absolutely not. There are plenty of people, and you've heard us say it, if you are metabolically flexible, meaning you don't have high insulin, you can burn both carbs and fat. So your woodshed is open. If your woodshed is open, then you can access your stored fat and you don't need to restrict your carbs and reduce your insulin. If your woodshed is shut, okay, if you have high insulin or you are insulin resistant, meaning that you are likely to have high insulin, so like me now, my insulin's low, but if I eat a lot of carbs, it goes back up again, so it's not a permanent thing. My insulin was high, now it's low. If your insulin is high, the only way to access your fat stores is to open the shed. And the only way to open the shed is to eat low carb or take metformin. That's the one drug that we know that will sensitize your muscles. Now the weird thing is that we don't know how it works. So that's always a tiny bit of a concern to me. Having said that, not enough of a concern for me not to prescribe it. I will certainly prescribe it. There is a lot of study on it. It's been very, this is taking a bit longer. I think that maybe I forgot to turn it on. Seems hot now. So when somebody says to you, cutting your carbs is dangerous, this is the question I always ask. Are you insulin resistant? But oh no, how would I know? And of course they're right. You don't know unless you've either had a blood test or B, if you have signs of insulin resistance. So what are these signs? Well, there's a few. Belly fat. So if you're you've got little stick legs and you've got a round belly, so no waist, I've got a bit of a waist now, no waist, I was an apple, then you are more likely to be insulin resistant. If you've ever been diagnosed with fatty liver, you're going to be insulin resistant. If you have lots of skin tags, now not just one skin tag here or there, but if you find you've got lots around your neck, under your boobs, under your arms, in your groin, that's insulin resistant. And if there's a really unusual thing, it's not that unusual, some people have it, they just don't know what it is, darkening of your skin, which can sometimes be on your forehead, sometimes around your neck, in your armpits or your groin, and it feels like your skin's dirty, you sort of keep trying to wash it, that's insulin resistance. So if you have any of those things, carbohydrate restriction is going to be wonderful. Wonderful, because it works. It lowers your insulin, opens your woodshed, and basically you can burn all this stored fat and reverse this absolute tsunami that Australia and the whole world has of metabolic disease. Right. Just looked at my thing. I had it on some sort of keep warm model feet. This is, somebody was asking me about my pots. So this is old Chef's Toolbox stuff. I did it, when all your friends were doing Chef's Toolbox about 10 years ago. I bought everything. So I finally have now got a use for this portable induction cooktop, and it's very good. I quite like it. This is the square tin, and I will show it to you once there's something to show. In the moment, there's nothing much. So normally much hotter than this. I'm hoping that it hasn't, like everything in my life, had the gong. Anyway, here's what it is. So that's Chef's Toolbox, somebody was wondering. Now, the round tin, the one that I keep losing for the lid for, I need to replace because it's getting manky on the bottom, and I don't actually love these, so I wouldn't recommend buying them, and in fact you can't because they're out of business, so there you go. So back to the whole diet thing. When people say, you've got to have carbs, you must have carbs, you actually don't. And if you're insulin resistant, you need to keep them as low as possible for you, not for anyone else, but you. You can get plenty of fibre from your veggies. As you know, our method of cooking is pick a protein, add some veggies, add a little bit of fat or a lot of fat if the protein's lean, and add some flavour. So for this one, the protein is the tuna. The veggies are the onion, the capsicum, and the cabbage that's in there. The flavour is obviously going to be my mingle, and then my fat can be my favourite, some sour cream. I was going to put cream cheese in as well. I couldn't quite decide. Was I doing a tuna bake, or curried tuna bake, or was I doing like the chow mein dish, but instead of having mince, I'm putting some tuna in. And remember, these are stuff that just is floating around in the cupboard. If I didn't have cabbage, I would have gone and got some frozen cauliflower out and banged that in. You're allowed to make it up. You can do whatever you like. There's no rules. You're the boss of you. Oh, yay, finally. God, thank God. I'm starting to think I'm going to have to sit here and talk for ages while this thing starts going, but it is going. Now, a couple of things that I also wanted to talk about. I've got a video. I should post it here. I posted it on one of my doctor pages. So you know that I have rectangle stainless steel electric frying pan with glass lid is great. That would be good. So I have another hat, and I run self-care retreats for doctors, or looking at their whole wellness and stress reduction and food and all of those sorts of things. And I posted a little picture. Well, it wasn't a picture, it was actually a video. So I'll post it on our page when I finish this. And this is weird, right? So my hubby was riding his bike in Red Hill. This is a few months ago now. And he stops and he sees a snake eating a snake. Like seriously, it was a copperhead eating a tiger snake. Now tiger head snakes are really aggressive, and they're the ones that will kind of come after you. Copperheads are a bit tamer, but obviously this dude had enough of the tiger snake. So the copperhead is literally munching the tiger snake. And check this, my hubby says to my daughter, "Be careful." And she goes, "Dad, one snake has its mouth full and the other one is dead. So I think I'm going to be all right." God, she's quick. Anyway, what it reminded me of, snake eat snake, was this idea about a dog eat dog world. And we do live in a dog eat dog world, and I actually Googled what does dog eat dog mean. And basically it is the competition to get ahead without any consequence of anyone else. And there's quite a lot of that going on in our world. You see it, people cutting in the line of the traffic, bustling, jostling, without any care. There's angst, there's crank. And I was thinking about we've always lived in a dog eat dog world. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm naive and think the world used to be lovely. I know that there are always people out there that have been pretty competitive, pretty mean, and will do whatever it is to be the best. But I think there was also this stuff that we used to have called etiquette and manners, and there's some rules, and that made some things just flow a little bit better. And part of etiquette and manners meant that there was respect. So then I came across this other phrase, which was actually attributed to JFK, and the phrase is, "A rising tide lifts all boats." Now he was doing it in relation to economic reform, but I'm thinking about all of us humans, that when we all look after each other, everybody thrives. Now, that doesn't mean you give and give and give till your cup is empty, because we also talk about that as boundaries. But can you imagine living in a world where we just spend a little bit less time kind of guarding our own? We see it all the time. People get worried about their jobs, they become protective, they're worried about their kids, they become protective. And in the olden days, when we had etiquette and manners, we also had a village to raise children. Parents there was just stuff going on. There were lots more help, and now we're sort of living this reasonably isolated life where everyone's just fighting for their own plot of land. And so I was thinking about the rising tide lifts all boats. So our society is so much better. This needs a little bit more. What I'm going to do is leave the lid off because it's a little bit mushy. We don't like mushy cabbage. I don't want boiled cabbage. I want braised cabbage. So you're just going to have to listen. You can see it hit down here. It's just a little watery. So I actually think that we could do this thing where we just have a little. I know I'm being cliched, I know. But the sentiment is that we just have a little look out for some others. And interestingly, and Denise, you'll know who I'm talking about, there is a beautiful bunch of women who come and see me. and they all belong to a group, and all of these women have, it's a group, and I won't tell you what they do because it's, I just don't want to break too much confidentiality, but they all have a hobby, and they all go and do things with this hobby, and it's really communal and really collective. And I just, whenever I see these, they all talk about each other in such beautiful terms, and I think that that certainly within that group, the rising tide is lifting all the boats. And so one person has changed their way of eating, changed their health, changed their life, brought it on to the next person, the domino, and then the ripple effect has been wonderful. So the reason I'm doing this long-winded story is it comes back to the idea that, so today we actually saw a post. It was alerted to me by another lovely member asking me, questioning me on what I thought about this. And it was a post by a young nutritionalist basically saying that anyone who recommends carb restriction is, bonkers, essentially. She had a snippet out of a study and with no backup. Okay, so studies and research nutritional research has been very, very badly done, and I'm just doing that because it's steam, not that I'm flicking you off. Very badly done. It is full of vested interest groups, and as an example of a vested interest group, a couple of years ago, GPs were invited to participate on a webinar. It was either a webinar or a podcast on gut health. A few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, right when gut health was becoming a little more mainstream, I thought, oh, this is good. I love gut health. I'm going to listen to that. And I click on, and you know who it's sponsored by? Kellogg's. So I just thought, no, it's a vested interest group teaching people, sort of sneaking in under the radar about gut health by a company, Kellogg's, that is, responsible for a lot of the health choices that people have, a lot of the food that people choose, thinking they're choosing healthy foods. So anyway, needless to say, I got out of that. But this is my thing. Whenever I look at a study, I try and get the whole article, because what they'll do is they'll give you the introduction and the finish. Nothing in between. So you have to, and sometimes you have to pay for that. So this particular article we're paying for, we're getting, and I can already see that the first 3 authors work for Sanitarium. So what do you reckon their nutritional study is going to say? This is the sneakiness of it, and it really, really drives me nuts. Okay, so my tuna is nice and hot. My cabbage still needs a little bit more braising because I like it to caramelise. So I probably could have drained the, I kind of like the saltiness of the water, but probably if I wanted to be faster, like fast as well, then I should have drained the tuna and just added a bit of salt. That would be another option. Because, I pride myself on having the dinner done in under half an hour or under 20 minutes if I can. And this one's just taking that little bit longer. It's not bad though, I'm going to tell you that. It's not bad. So what I'm going to do now while that's cooking is put my mingle in. So this one is the curry in a hurry. I do like this one. It's the one I use in my chow mein as well. And obviously if I wanted to make a curry, but I'm going to tell you, I hardly ever make whatever this, like just however it is, because I really like the red curry and the green curry, and we also eat the satay. Now, here's a tip for young players. This one is available in Coles. If you can't get the satay in Coles, I've done what I call the cheap satay, which is this with peanut butter, and it's bloody beautiful. So feel free to do that. If you can't get the satay mix, just use that curry, add peanut butter and coconut cream, and you're set to go. Oh, this smells good now. This is looking much better. I was a tiny bit worried. Do you know what? I'm going to give you a secret. The majority of these dishes that I cook, I've never done before. So that I made that beautiful, lemon butter salmon the other week. That was a total hit. That's going on repeat in my family, and I hadn't cooked that before either. Because I just use this same formula: protein, veggies, add some fat, add some flavour. You can't go wrong. There are no dud dishes with that formula. So remember, this whole meal so far, with the 2 tins of tuna, has, what did I say? Oh, 200 grams of protein. Now, sour cream's got a little bit of protein. Let me have a quick look. So, what is it? 100 grams of sour cream. Oh, actually, this has bugger all protein. This is no good. So don't think that sour... How's this food? So if you think you're going to get your protein from sour cream, you're wrong. That's okay. So dairy, it's interesting, dairy has variable amounts of protein in it. So I just think that we just keep things on track. But I like the taste of it, and it's got a little bit of fat. So the protein has definitely come from the tuna here. Look how good this looks. Can you guys see? So hang on, let me bring this in. This thing's a little bit heavy. But doesn't that look lovely? It's got all the colours. So the onion, oh, sorry, it's an induction time. If you take it off, it gets cross. So, I mean, if you had some mushrooms, if you want to put that in, that'd be fine. Whatever you want to put in it. I'm just making sure the chicken's all thinner. And then basically, it's done, it's ready. So I did make it, hooray. And then, hang on, I'm just going to grab, what's happened to my spoon? So, this is now ready, and look, I'm just going to get a few dollops of this, because it really just adds to that flavour. So I did 3 things, so this is 500, it's probably 150 grams of sour cream, I reckon, for the whole thing. There we go. So that, my loves, you know, if you're trying to boost up your seafood, if you haven't got any fresh meat in the fridge, like me, then this is just a little variation on a sort of tuna. It's not, I'm going to actually change, it's not tuna bake, there's no baking. It's tuna, we'll call it tuna curry. I don't know, it always sounds a bit off when you say it like that, but it's not just calling it, I'm going to call it tuna delight. How do we like that? This is tuna delight, it's bloody beautiful. Totally healthy, really nutritious. It's got vegetables, it's got protein, it's got a little bit of fat. Get it on. So my loves, that's the messages. Diet wars, our belief, if you are insulin resistant, absolutely doing low carb will be wonderful for you. If you're metabolically flexible, meaning you don't have insulin resistance, you can burn both fuels, you can have a few more carbs, it's no problem. If you're, our big thing, it's real food, okay? Don't do low carb junk food. That's not going to be helpful. It's like vegan junk food. There are plenty of people who are what they call vegan, and you know what they live on? Like bread and hundreds of thousands. That's not helpful. Whole food is totally the key. So whole food, and if you're insulin resistant, low carb. Be kind. We don't want to be in a snake eat snake world. We want to be the rising tide that lifts all boats. That, my loves, wow, it was a pep talk, wasn't it? That's the pep talk for tonight. I'm going to go and put my hoodie back on because I totally love it. And once I've played all this up nicely, I'll take another picture and send it through to you. Beautiful Erica, our VA, has been uploading on the website all the recipes. So if you ever want to go back and think, what did she cook that time? We're going through, they're not all there yet, but she's been putting them up. So there'll be the video of this, plus a photo of the dish, plus the actual recipe. It's on the website in the blog section. So you just go to rlmedicine.com blog, and you'll find in there, there's a, you know, what do you call it, like a category, and it's recipes. That's it. Bye, beautiful peeps. See you soon. I'll just get my film crew to come and turn the camera off. They're just busy, so I'll do it. See you soon.